If you're a Roblox developer, you most likely fall into one of these two categories. You make games mainly because you're passionate about them, or you make games mainly to make money. Making a Roblox game with just money in mind can end up going pretty badly for you, and in this video I'm gonna explain why. I'm not here to hate on any cash grab games or the people that play them, but instead to explain why making a Roblox game you're passionate about ends up being so much better than making this. You know the saying, don't judge a book by its cover. Well, for most Roblox games, you can pretty much throw that entire idea out the window. In fact, you can usually tell if a Roblox game is passionately made from just a few seconds of looking at it. Here, let's play a little game. Hello everybody and welcome to the Cactus Quiz Show. I'm going to show you 3 seconds of gameplay from 2 Roblox games, and you're gonna have to guess which one is more passionately made. Ready? If you guessed Grace, then you're correct. Here, let's do another. Congrats if you guessed Block Tails. Okay, one more. It should be pretty obvious by now which games are made by developers that actually care about the game itself rather than the money they're gonna make from it. At first glance you can kinda get a feeling of what a game is like based off of the UI and overall aesthetic. I get that these comparisons aren't very fair since half the games I showed are quite infamous for being sloppy or poorly made, but those are just examples, and most newer Roblox games are just as bad if not worse. Now let me get into all the benefits of making a game you're actually passionate about. When you make a game, you want to be respected and praised for it. It makes you feel good and motivates you to keep going, right? Now what if your game was riddled with microtransactions, a bright and overstimulating art style that usually only appeals to kids under the age of 6, and a very simple gameplay loop? Do you think you would be respected for that? Well, let's take a look at Pet Simulator. Let's take a look at Steal a Brain. Yeah, it's pretty obvious that the general Roblox community, aside from very young kids, are not very fond of these games, and for good reasons. People hate these games for being full of things you can buy, which obviously doesn't sit right with people when you realize most of the games are made for very young kids. Something else people, including myself, despise is gambling. Most cash grab games have gambling. And while it doesn't seem too bad, you have to take into account that people end up having to spend a lot of Robux just to get the best thing from the loot box. The reason for this is because the developers make the chances to get good stuff astronomically high. It's not as bad when developers add free methods to get loot boxes, but unfortunately most don't. I understand all Roblox developers need to make money, but that can be done without shoving microtransactions in people's faces every chance they get. Now when we look at games that are made passionately, you can start to realize why they are so much more liked. For one, they aren't full of things to buy. They obviously have a few game passes here and there, and that's to be expected, but they mainly focus on whether or not the player is having fun. You can tell they put a lot of effort into the updates they do and actually take their time with them, unlike other games which rush their updates out every week. When you make a game you're passionate about, it's quite easy to develop a community around it. A community that gets hyped for updates and stuff you put out. A community that genuinely enjoys something that you made. A community that will stick with you and the decisions that you make. Doesn't that sound cool? And that's not even mentioning all the creative things that your community might make, like fan art or theories, for example. Your community could even nominate you for awards if they like your game enough. Your game might end up attracting content creators, which leads to a bunch of cool content being made about it. Through your community, you may be able to make new friends and be included in a lot of cool things made by other people. Something that I find really awesome is how close the Roblox community is. Fans, developers, and content creators all interacting and making cool stuff together. And you could be a part of that if your Roblox game was liked by enough people. Games like Stealer Brainrot also develop a community, but it feels like a much smaller one, and one that is far away from the rest of the Roblox community, kind of in its own little bubble. I'm not a developer myself, so I won't be able to speak on this too much. I'll mainly be speaking based on development streams I've watched or any other instances I've seen of behind-the-scenes Roblox development. When you're developing a game, you want to have fun with it. You're going to be spending a lot of time doing it, so you're obviously going to want it to be fun, otherwise you would get way too bored and lose motivation. Developing a creative and original game that, in most cases, is loved by lots of people is probably a lot more motivating and fun to develop than a game that is based on a trend and is targeted at a very young audience. Discussing and brainstorming ideas with fellow developers is probably a lot more prominent in original and passionate games than front-page trend games, as there's not really much thought that the developers need to put into those. Not only is it fun to discuss with your developers, but your friends who don't have a role in the development of the game too. Running ideas by your friends might help you understand what you can add to make the game fun for as many people as possible. Though, only if your game isn't just based on a trend with barely any thought put into it in the first place. I mean, come on, there's no way the creators of some of these front-page games actually have fun developing them. If you build a strong community around your Roblox game, then it'll most likely maintain a stable player base for a very long time. Sure, it might die down a bit, but for the most part your game should stay relevant for quite a while. If you make a cash-grab Roblox game, however, it's basically guaranteed to pull off a world record speed run to its demise the moment you hit publish. That is because these kinds of games aren't usually able to get a community that stays interested in the game for long enough. Most cash-grab games don't usually have a lot of depth or replayability to them. The developers only see money while making the game and don't end up putting a lot of effort in because of that. Developers of cash-grab games are also very out of touch with their community most of the time, and almost never take in feedback. Stealer Brainrot and Grow a Garden are some games that actually did listen to their community quite a bit, which is probably why they have lasted this long. Looking at Grow a Garden though, we can see that it lost like 90% of its player base after only a few months, despite listening to its community so well. Now let's take a game like Doors. Back in 2022, it skyrocketed in players and was all over YouTube, even reaching creators who didn't normally make Roblox content. It developed a very dedicated community that stuck with the game, even with the large gaps between updates. Now, 3 years later, the game still maintains a pretty healthy player base. If Grow a Garden lost this much of its player base within a few months, then imagine how many players it'll have in 3 years. Yeah, probably nowhere near as much as Doors, or most other games that are designed to actually stick around instead of just making some money and dipping. Grow a Garden actually has it pretty good compared to most other cash grab games, since it still averages around 100,000 players every day. Stealer Brainrot actually developed a massive community, especially on YouTube, which is why it's still so insanely popular, but even so it still probably won't last too much longer. If you've been on Roblox within the past year or two, then you're probably familiar with Do Big Studios. They are mainly known for buying other games from developers and then running them into the ground. The most popular example of this is Fish. The game was released to lots of success before Do Big reached out to the developer and offered a lot of money for ownership of the game. This led to the fastest downfall of any Roblox game I've ever seen. The main reasons? They completely disconnected from their community and loaded the game with microtransactions. But recently, the owner actually bought the game back from them, which led to an insane comeback of the game, taking it from averaging 20,000 players to 200,000, and even reaching 1 million when it updated. The owner removed almost all the microtransactions and actually listened to the community, removing some of the bad updates that Do Big had previously added. There's a video by the Holy Grail 75 which goes way more in depth on this, and I recommend you check it out. If you're someone who genuinely enjoys these games, then that's fine. My main reason for making this video is not to hate on people for playing these games, but instead to encourage new and aspiring developers to make one of these, rather than one of these. Every time I check the front page to look for a new game, I'm instead met with this. I don't like being met with that, because the fact that they pull millions of players while having very simple gameplay and low effort means that new developers have no incentive to make an actual fun game. Why make a high-effort game that might not even get any players when I can just make a brain rot game and get millions? That's what every new Roblox developer probably asks themselves. That's why I made this video. To explain some of the positives. To explain why making a game you're truly passionate about can be far better than any amount of money a cash grab game could ever bring you.